Hello and welcome everyone to today's session, which is on the subject of how to leverage headless e-commerce and growth marketing for more e-commerce conversions. During the course of this session, I would request all attendees to cater to all of their questions in the Q&A box so that our speakers can attend to those at the end of the webinar. I'll start with a quick introduction to today's session now. As we all know, in the e-commerce industry, there's a cutthroat competition in the market, and all retailers as well as brands are leaving no stones left behind to get better conversions. Whether it's developing innovative strategies or going with traditional methods, the aim is just one: to scale your e-commerce brand. Though headless e-commerce as well as growth marketing have been in existence for more than a decade, it is in the recent times that they've gained momentum. So today, businesses are focusing more and more on customer experience as well as data-driven marketing strategies to stay on top of the e-commerce game. So is the motive of today's webinar. We are going to dig deeper into how a headless platform, along with the right growth marketing, can lead to higher conversions and better conversions for your e-commerce brand. The session will talk about how retailers can leverage the combination of both and bring profitability to your businesses. On this note, I would like to welcome our speakers for today's session. I will hand over the mic to our speakers to introduce themselves, and then we'll take the session forward. Over to you, Anshuk.
Hi, everyone. Very excited to be a part of this webinar. I think headless commerce and growth marketing are very relevant concepts to be talking about today, and really happy to be given this opportunity. My name is Anshuk. I'm one of the co-founders of Adyogi. Over the last 7 years, I've personally worked and interacted with over 100 plus founders in the e-commerce and D2C space. And I've also seen this space mature over the last 6-7 years. This is an industry which has gone through its own, I would say, ups and lows. So happy to share some of the insights about how an e-commerce brand can scale today. What are the key levers of, let's say, profitability for an e-com brand, and also talk a little bit about headless commerce. How can it help in the journey of an e-commerce brand? Look forward to the discussion. Over to you, Neeraj.
Hi, thanks, Anshuk. Hi, everyone. I'm pleased to be here. So my name is Neeraj Patel. I basically take care of engineering and product at Dimension. Dimension is a premium menswear apparel brand. Prior to this, I was part of the founding team of a wedding services marketplace called Shadi Saga, which after a fair run, we got acquired by Bharat Matrimony. And post that, I joined Dimension to take care of these things. We have very recently decided to get on board to Better Commerce, which is a headless commerce suite. And so this is going to be, we are very soon launching with Better Commerce in a week's time. So I'm looking forward to sharing the learnings that we have gone through in shifting from a self-built and owned platform to Better Commerce, a headless commerce suite. Looking forward to the discussion.
Neeraj, thank you. This is David. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, David.
Hi, my name's David Warby. I'm an independent consultant, advisor to the Better Commerce business, here really with two missions today. One, to give you guys some perspectives on the challenges of headless and e-commerce generally, but also to represent the position that Better Commerce find themselves in, which is to be a headless e-commerce provider to a wide variety of solutions, one of which is you've just heard from Neeraj. I'm an independent. I found myself working with Better Commerce on the basis that I've analyzed them for a number of my international clients, and I work with businesses around the globe to help them navigate better the digital world, and in essence, try to help businesses, retailers and brands make better digital decisions. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Anshuk, Neeraj, and David. On that note, we would like to initiate today's session. I am Shruti. I'm going to be your host for today's session. We also have Akarsh and Pranu from Better Commerce and Adyogi teams. You can always reach out to us in the comment section for any questions that you may have. Before we start, I would like to start with a quick poll to understand our audience here better. This would also help our speakers today customize their point of view for maximum takeaways just for you. You'll see the poll on the screen right about now. We would like to understand where you stand in your e-commerce journey today, whether you are an offline retailer, if you've started operating on your D2C website, if you've expanded to marketplaces, or if you're doing all three at once. You can submit your responses on your screen right away. Ten more seconds for the poll. Okay, great. So as we can see, most of you have already started your D2C and marketplace journey. The first question that comes to mind is how exactly you can grow your business on both the platforms. On that note, my first question will be directed towards Anshuk Agarwal to understand growth marketing. What exactly is growth marketing and what does it mean in the industry today? Over to you, Anshuk.
Thanks, Shruti. So growth marketing, apart from the buzzword, I would try to decode it for the audience today. What it essentially means is a bunch of few things. Number one, how do you acquire customers using digital channels? Number two, how can you optimize your acquisition cost? Which means if, let's say, you're currently spending, let's say, $20 or $30 for your customer acquisition cost, how can you actually bring it down? It also means which channels should you be plugging in for your acquisition? Is it Meta? Is it Google? Is it TikTok? So which channels are optimal for you? Growth marketing also includes retention strategies. So how can a brand today retain their customers? How can they increase their repeat customer rate? Which means how can you bring back more and more your customers to come back to your website and make a purchase? It can also include A/B testing. So if you're doing A/B testing of creatives, what sort of a messaging works for you when you're talking to your brands on social channels or digital channels? A/B testing of your website. So there are tips and tricks you can use to increase conversion rate on the website. And we all know that conversion rate is a very, very key lever of profitability today for e-commerce brands. And growth marketing also includes things like search engine marketing, which is your Google, Shopping, and Performance Max, search engine optimization, by which you can get more organic traffic on the website. So in a nutshell, growth marketing actually includes all the different aspects of marketing which you can do to scale your e-commerce business and also make your e-commerce business more profitable by maybe reducing your acquisition cost and increasing your repeat customer rate. So that would be a summary to start with, but over to you, Shruti.
Thank you so much, Anshuk. And don't worry, we will get back to all of these matrices as we move forward in our discussion today. My next question would be around the second subject, the second highlighting subject for today's session, which is headless e-commerce. I would like to invite David to clarify what exactly headless e-commerce is and how exactly is it different from traditional platforms.
Shruti, thank you. Great question. I'm sure there are many people listening today who know a lot about this, but maybe there are some that don't. Interestingly, over the weekend, I'm sure like many of you have, I've asked ChatGPT to tell me everything it knows about headless commerce. And rather strikingly, it was quite accurate. So if after this webinar, you've lost your notes or you can't quite remember what anybody said, go and ask ChatGPT. It's pretty accurate. But here's my view of headless. So I've been designing, building and operating digital businesses from within retail brands for the last 25 years. And when I first started, there was really only one way to engage with your clients from a technology perspective. And that way has more recently been branded monolithic. Monolithic, obviously, because it's aged, but also because it's a single thing. It's one big stack of technology. It incorporates everything you need as a business, everything you need to engage with your customers, right from the front end touch points, right through to the back end order management and fulfillment. But about 5 years ago, businesses started to get restless with that concept. And what emerged was this idea of detaching the head from the body. Now, I happen to think that that description is not very accurate, because headless, as we know it today, isn't really headless. Yes, it decouples the head from the body, the head being the customer interface and the body being everything else. But I tend to use the word composable, because composable is a more accurate description of what this technology is. It is a series of components, some of which are customer facing, some of which are in the middle, and some of which are at the back, that are connected to each other using API technology. So at its technical level, it's the disintermediation of all of those components that used to be sat inside the monolith to be their own version of the truth. So you've got a component called a product information management system. You've got a component called an order management system. And within those exist hundreds of microservices. So in its simplest sense, headless or composable is the disaggregation of all of that stuff, connecting it through APIs, which are a much more attractive way of connecting capabilities these days, so that you can bring the best of breed solutions to your customers without feeling like you have to have one big single brand monolithic stack. We can talk more about it later, but that, I think for now, is the best interpretation of what headless feels like for me.
All right, that was a wonderful explanation, David. Coming to the combination and the relation between growth marketing and headless e-commerce, I would like to invite both David and Anshul to speak about it to make it more clearer to the audience how exactly we can combine and use both at once to complement their growth, e-commerce growth.
Anshul, would you like to start?
Yes, of course. So there are various ways where growth marketing and headless commerce come together, but I would probably try to cover one or two of them. So one way where headless commerce can actually help is it can not only decouple the front-end UI from, let's say, the back-end logic, it can also help you integrate with some of your other systems. So for example, if you are an offline retailer and you have an online presence, so you would have a CRM system in your offline retail setup. So what headless commerce can help you do is it can help you customize your website experience based on the data which you can get from your CRM or even your ERP systems. So a good example could be, let's say you had a customer walk into the store and they probably bought a certain product from the store, and maybe a few weeks later they come on your website. So technically, with the support of headless commerce, you can actually bring that information that they brought a certain product on the offline store, and you can show them a related or a complementary category when they come to the website. So of course, the possibilities are endless, but these are some of the use cases where headless commerce can help you not only increase your conversion rate, it can also help you upsell and cross-sell to your existing customer base, and thereby help you in growing your business. David, over to you for more on this.
Yeah, I think that's a that's a great operational thing. I'll move to the slightly more philosophical level for people. There is a dynamism about growth marketing, which kind of puts it in the non-passive. It's a very active pursuit. It's a very real-time thing, and I think that's also true of headless or composable commerce. 20 years ago, all people worried about was whether the monolith was going to be scalable and not fall down. Today, we don't worry about things like that. Those things are given. What we're more concerned about is lightweight agility and responsiveness. So the very concept of merging growth marketing philosophy with composable and headless kind of works for me, because it's an active thing. It's not a let's just kind of bolt it to the floor and make sure it works for weeks on end. It's a very iterative, very active operation. And businesses, like we're going to hear shortly from Niraj, who adopt Headless, move into this world of being, if you like, always optimized. It's constant iteration, it's constant change. And whilst that may sound draining and exhausting, commercially, it's obviously very attractive because the value is in the margins these days. It's not in the center ground, it's on the fringe. So you've got to optimize everything. And I think the concept of growth marketing aligned with the technology that comes from a headless world means you get exactly what you want as a business. You don't get given what IT decide you're going to have. You determine the tools and the brands that you want that work for you so that you can optimize your business. Those two things work very well for me in sync.
All right, I think that's a relationship that all of us aspire to have, one that is mutually beneficial as well as scalable. Now, let's dig deeper into what exactly does it take for e-commerce brands to scale, coming from an e-commerce entrepreneur. I would like to invite Neeraj now and ask him what are the key growth marketing metrics that one should keep in mind for a new age e-commerce brand?
Okay, so I think it would be a bit unfair to point out that there are a bunch of marketing or growth marketing metrics that would be suited for us or any new age e-commerce brand, because growth broadly is sort of a mindset, right? And which should percolate across the teams in an organization, leave alone just marketing. But speaking specifically about growth marketing, as Anshu pointed out earlier, broadly it can be divided into acquisition and retention. At Dimension, we get almost 50% of our revenue from repeat customers, right? So we focus a lot on retention. And as David pointed out, that it brings you into a constant cycle of change. And broadly, the growth marketing mindset is that you keep looking at data. And since a lot of new age e-commerce brands are digital only initially, I see that there is Asopala, which is majorly an offline brand, now probably trying to get into online. And for reaching out to customers online, we use all kinds of digital mediums where measurement is the most important thing that we have, the biggest superpower that we have, right? Which is why there is performance marketing in the game. And as you start measuring your data, various metrics when in different phases of your journey, like for example, if you're focusing on acquisition in the early part of an e-commerce brand's journey, where getting to more eyeballs is most important rather than trying to focus on retention. In that case, you may be more focused on how many people you are able to show impressions to, what is your click-through rate, what is the kind of conversion that you're getting from which platform, Meta, Google, or Instagram, or wherever. Then when you have once acquired certain customers and you have identified your target audience, then you can start looking at how to retain them. Like for example, for retention, we use like 4 different channels, and email, SMS, WhatsApp, as well as web push. And we keep on looking at our ROI for each one of them and keep optimizing between them, amongst them. Similarly, for acquisition as well, we use all the digital mediums, affiliates as well. Then we also look at our return on the ad spend. If we are spending, say, $1, are we able to, what is the spend final revenue that we're able to get out of it? And since we are now at a scale, we keep in mind the biggest metric around marketing, which is what is the share of your revenue which marketing is taking up. And since the beginning, we have been focused on profitability and our bottom line and keeping our bottom line tight. So we try to keep that under tab. So broadly, the metrics that a brand should track should ideally depend on what stage they are in and what are their current priorities. Like I said, if you are just coming up, you're trying to validate something, the more people you reach out to and the quicker you are able to identify your target audience, the better it is. Once you've done that, then start optimizing conversions.
Understood. Neeraj, from an e-commerce entrepreneur, you can see that there's a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs that are attending this session today. How would you describe your experience working on an headless platform right now, and what was that one decision? What prompted that decision to go towards a headless platform?
We have not yet been able to experience the benefits of headless because we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are about to go live next week.
Right.
But like around 8-10 months ago, when we were, so during the pandemic, Dimension saw huge growth. Like we grew like 2-3x year on year. And to sustain this growth with a lot of new changes that we wanted to bring about, we launched new categories around the end of the pandemic. So we were primarily an innerwear brand, and then we launched a lot of outerwear products as well. The sweatshirt that I'm wearing, joggers, t-shirts, shorts, and all of these things. So we had challenges on both fronts. We had to reach out to new customers. We had to retain the existing customers that we had. We wanted to add some kind of loyalty program. We decided that we needed to go offline as well. So there were a lot of new requests coming from all the teams and from generally from the business, right? And to scale up really fast, we needed a good enough engineering and tech support from various functions of the e-commerce setup. Like, for example, our warehouse capabilities also need to scale accordingly. The way we manage our orders, like Anshu pointed out earlier, that if we are going offline as well, in addition to our current online capabilities, we would need some kind of an omnichannel experience. Then we had also planned to get into general trade, which is distributor driven sales. To take care of all of these things very quickly, we understood that there are only two ways. Either you build everything yourself by investing massively into your engineering, or you opt for a headless system, headless commerce suite, which provides you a lot of these things out of the box, right? When we started assessing the costs of both of these things, and especially during pandemic, and even now, when the tech hiring and tech costs had gone out of the roof, it made sense to us that we should opt for a headless system, because it was also clear to us that we are not a tech company, right? So it doesn't make sense for us to reinvent the wheel. It is better to leverage existing tools that smart folks have already built. And we focus on what is core for us, which is building this product and building a brand and leverage the tools that are out there in the market. So the first decision was that we are going to go ahead with a headless commerce suite. Then we set out to find the best one suited for us. And like all startups, we were looking for the most value at the least price, right? So the team started searching for all kinds of options. We came across some options which were super feature rich, and we were so prompted to go ahead with them, but then the costs were very high. And then there was a new headless commerce suite, which was very, very cheap, which wanted a brand like us to get on board. But then the features were not at our disposal as much as we wanted. And then there were trust issues as well as to, for a new age headless commerce suite, what kind of growth they will be able to sustain with the kind of new users and revenue that we would want to reach. So then we decided to define for ourselves a set of parameters that we would weigh all the options upon. So one of them was obviously the kind of features that we want, the business would want right now and in the next 2 years, right? Because we wanted to expand into more channels as well, add more features for our customers, our backend teams, and all of these things. So first one was obviously the kind of feature that we'll get. Then there was, so we wanted to own our data. On a typical headless commerce suite, what happens is that it is a central instance which powers all the e-commerce brands which have onboarded on them. Like, for example, if you talk about Shopify, everyone on Shopify, all the businesses on Shopify are being served from Shopify's central database or central instance in layman terms, right? We do not want that to happen, because otherwise we would lose some control on our data. If we want to make any specific modifications or withdraw data or update, we would lose that. control. So we wanted a dedicated instance, which not all the headless commerce suites would provide. Then we wanted great support as well. So for that, we started speaking with existing clients of various headless commerce suites and about their experience on them. Then there was one more parameter, obviously around cost. So considering all of these things, we decided that Better Commerce is the best tool right now. Yeah, that is how we basically ended up choosing Better Commerce.
Great. That was a great answer, Neeraj. You also gave us a checklist of what we should go for, what we are, as an e-commerce brand, what people are looking for, and how they can make an informed decision when going headless. I think you also mentioned that it's very important for e-commerce brands to have such service providers who are offering automation at their fingertips, right? So that's exactly what Better Commerce as well as Adyogi does. So we offer automation at your fingertips. We allow you to run your advertising campaigns at a single dashboard while maintaining profitability throughout. Talking about profitability, before moving on to the next question, we would also like to uncover how much our audience is currently investing towards growth marketing. You'll shortly know why. You'll see the poll on your screen right about now. The poll will be live for another 10 seconds. Request all attendees to pitch in their answers. It's great. Okay, great. As we can see, there's more than 50% of you all are spending more than 30% of your marketing budget on advertising, on growth marketing. I'm sure while doing that, you might find yourself struggling with the key levers to pull to grow profitably. To understand how the growth marketing metrics work for an e-commerce brand, I will like to hand over the mic to Anshuk Agarwal, and he can walk us through what kinds of growth marketing levers to pull to grow profitably at each stage of your marketing funnel. And I would also want him to help us understand which ones of these are directly related to the headless integration today. Over to you, Anshuk.
I think profitability has been one of the key discussion points when I interact with brands today, and rightfully so, because every business, whether it's e-commerce or non-e-commerce, should at the end of the day worry about the bottom line. A common question which I get asked is, what are the levers which a brand can pull today to become more profitable in the online space, right? So while there are a bunch of levers, I can probably try to bucket them. The key lever, one which we have usually come across, is your paid advertising, because what we have realized is a good share of 80 to maybe 70 to 80% of your entire marketing budget actually ends up going into your paid marketing campaigns on platforms like Meta and Google. So a key lever which brands can pull there is, how do you, let's say, distribute your budgets across these platforms? We've seen very different cost of traffic coming from a Meta campaign versus maybe a shopping campaign. So leverage your shopping and discovery and YouTube campaigns to drive lower cost traffic to the website, which could also be a sort of a mid-funnel strategy, because some of these campaigns can drive much lower CPCs. So you may want to use them as a mid-funnel campaign, get a lot of people who may not be, let's say, in the conversion funnel, but who would want to still explore your products and categories. I think the second key lever which I've seen brands explore is catalog, right? Now, not many of us may appreciate the fact that the kind of products which you push to your marketing campaigns can actually have a huge impact on your overall profitability. Like we have seen that as a D2C or an e-commerce brand, you may have a catalog of, let's say, 10, 20 categories. And in each category, you may have a depth of maybe 50 to 100 products. But not all these categories and products are actually equally profitable. What we have realized is identifying the hero categories, the categories which typically have higher conversion rates, or the categories which typically have higher average order values, actually helps you in getting good return on ad spend. So identify the hero category, whether it's 1, 2, 3, and try to focus maybe 60-70% of your budget onto your hero categories. The third lever which we see brands pull very often is conversion rates on the website, because no matter the quality of traffic or the cost of traffic you are getting, if people are getting, let's say, dropped off on the website, either on the product page or the category page, businesses will never be able to make it scale and be profitable. So focus on conversion rate optimization. There are many levers which brands can use there, but track your conversion rate and see how can you probably improve that by another 5-10%, maybe benchmark it to other brands in your similar space, and see if there are A/B testing which can be done to improve conversion rate. Right? And last, maybe just among the top 4, I would say for a D2C brand today or an online brand today, being able to use events and discounting is also a very key lever. So let's say if you have a Valentine's Day coming up or a Women's Day coming up, how can you leverage those events to make your marketing more contextual, maybe roll out your new collection, maybe give some additional discount. But I've seen brands which are very successful do it really well. And in many cases, they would do maybe 5x the amount of sale on an event day versus something like a business as usual. So that also becomes a key lever for profitable growth. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you so much, Anshul. That was a very crisp and concise yet detailed answer from your end. Just to let the audience know, we do discuss all of these levers in detail in one of our ebooks, which is called How to Grow a 100 Crore E-commerce Brand. You can find that on Adobe's website, free to download. Moving on to the next question, I would now that we are adept with the concepts and the key levers of growth marketing, I would like to do the same for the headless platform subject as well. David, if you could help us understand the values and the virtues of a modern headless platform that e-commerce brands should consider.
Thank you, Shruti. Happy to do that. I picked out 3 for conversation today. There are many more, and I'm happy to take questions offline because clearly we only have a limited amount of time, but I've picked 3. The first is speed. The second is incremental change. And the third is business IT collaboration. So the first, speed. This comes in 2 forms. Headless composable businesses have a faster speed to market. And they have that because of the way they are engineered and the way their technology works for them. So when it comes to getting the best and newest products and services to your customers, having a headless architecture means you're not sitting waiting in queues for something to happen. Individuals are empowered and therefore can launch much faster. That's both products, services, and new technology to their customers. The second part of speed is a bit more operational. Pages, when built properly in a headless world or a composable world, load faster. It's undeniably true that Google loves fast pages, and if you can get your pages to load faster, then Google will put you towards the top of the ranking, and you'll have to spend less money buying the terms that attract your customers to you. So speed is the first thing. Second thing, incremental change. This isn't something that occupies everybody's thoughts all the time, but if you're in the traditional monolith world, you will hate the idea of having to re-platform. It will subsume all of your team for more than 12 months, and all they will do is try to re-platform you from a previous version to a new version. It chews up huge amounts of time and money. However, a composable, headless commerce stack doesn't have huge change. It has incremental small pieces of change. So you no longer have to dread that in 3 years' time, there's a massive technical project to manage. What you have is iterative change happening in a very normalized way. The third virtue I picked out was business and IT collaboration. And this is something that I think Niraj will soon discover when they go live with their Better Commerce Headless world, that business and IT work better together in a headless world. We're no longer in the world where the IT director decides it's this product or this brand or this supplier to give them the monolithic thing and gives it to the technical, the e-commerce team. The decision tends to be more of a business IT collaborative project. So the business gets the tools it wants. So for example, if you are sitting there thinking, I'm interested in Headless, but I really love the product information management system we've already got, you would take it with you. You wouldn't be forced to reject it because you're getting a new monolithic piece of technology. You can take it with you. If you're a subscription business and you have a fantastic subscription service already, you take that with you into a composable headless world. You don't leave it behind and have to adopt a new one that everybody has to learn all about. So the users get the tools that they want in order to be efficient and to manage their customers properly. The IT guys get to focus on the scalability and reliability as they would always, but they don't determine the business outcomes. The business determines that. And that collaboration between IT and business, in my experience, having done over 50 re-platforms in my career, half a dozen of which are headless, that the collaboration between IT and business stands you in a much better place when you come to managing life with your new technology than it ever did in a traditional monolithic kind of world. There are many more, and we could talk more about them as time goes on. And I'm happy to do that offline if anybody would like to do that. Back to you, Shruti.
Yeah, Shruti, I would just like to second what David said. So since we have chosen to shift to a headless commerce system, we have already become zero in-house tech. Because as I pointed out earlier, that for a D2C brand like us, it makes sense to focus on building the brand and the product, which is in very close unison to the business strategies, right? And the IT or the engineering or technology part that we usually associate with an online brand is very little or not that significant in comparison to what the business strategies are and the product and the brand strategy are. So we've already downsized our team to almost zero now, since we're going to go ahead with a headless system. And it totally makes sense to for D2C brands to opt for such a system with which they are not dependent on tech or dependent on IT, as you pointed out, David. So it totally makes sense.
Great, thanks. Thanks for your input here, Neeraj. I think we're running short on time and we have a lot of questions coming in from our attendees. So I'm hoping to pick up a few from them so that they can cater to you. You all can answer their questions first. First question is, Neeraj, what tools are you using for retention marketing? This is a question from Shruti.
Hi, Shruti. So retention marketing. So broadly, retention you may not be able to sustain high retention only with marketing. You will also need support from other teams as well as to the kind of reviews that you're getting on your products, the kind of post-order experience that you have, in which your warehousing capabilities or your logistics will also be part of that. Because if you deliver your product late to the customer, you may not even have them again, even if you're reaching out to them on WhatsApp, email, or wherever, right on time with the right titles and right copies as well. So retention would broadly include a lot of things. Speaking about specifically retention marketing, we use, as I pointed out earlier, 4 channels to reach out to customers: email, SMS, WhatsApp, and web push. In addition to that, obviously, we also use remarketing on Meta, Google, Instagram as well. So, and like, for example, one of the metrics that we use in our remarketing is that we measure the number of conversions that we've received in 60 hours of a customer being targeted with a particular email, SMS, or WhatsApp or web push, because we want it to be more efficient. We want to challenge ourselves to improve on that. And despite that, we see a lot of retention and a lot of conversions from our retained users. So yeah, Shruti, if I answered your question, we use these 4 channels, and in support of that, a lot of other teams are also involved to make sure that our customers have the good experience that we want them.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. There's a lot of questions around conversion and how to improve conversions for e-commerce brands. Anshuk, if you could help us understand the various stages of a marketing funnel and the various meanings of conversions for each and every stage of a marketing funnel, that would be great.
So conversion rate is definitely one of the very important levers. Like I was telling in my earlier question also, that you may be getting the best traffic on the website, but if you're not able to convert them, the revenue or the bottom line or top line would never go up, right? So the way it has to be thought about, in my opinion, is to look at the entire journey of the user. Okay, so I'll start with, let's say if you're getting the user from a social channel like a Meta, which is Facebook or Instagram, one key lever could be that what you show them in the ad copy is exactly what they should get in the product page. So if you're showing a price, it might as well match with your product page price. If you have some shipping charges or let's say cash on delivery charges in case of the Indian context, it's better to mention it there. If there is any particular discounting which is running, you can also mention it there, but just make sure that it matches with what you show on the product page. So what you see is what you get. That itself could actually boost up the conversion rates. Once people land on the product page, of course, giving them additional information on the product, maybe the description, if you're selling apparel, cloth, if you're selling Ayurveda ingredients. So whatever additional information you think customers will need to make up their mind, that should be there on the product page itself. Recommended product section is absolutely important because you want, most of these people are landing directly on the product page from social platforms. They may not have seen your homepage or category page. They may not have any idea about what other products exist on the website. So having a recommended products category section is very important, so that they can see the other products and navigate to the product pages. On the checkout page, having a shipping policy, return policy usually helps people get that clarity if they ever choose to return the product. If there are shipping charges, then a clear mention of those charges definitely helps. Then there are also some, I would say, tech related areas where conversion rate can be improved. And this is something we see across many websites. So if you just go to, let's say, even Amazon, you would realize the moment you go to the checkout page, there is no header, there is no footer, right? And it's by design, because when people enter the checkout page, you want them to just complete the purchase. You don't want to make them go back to the product page, right? So not having a header and a footer, not having social icons, basically no distractions on the checkout page usually helps. Right? And on the payment page, of course, having the preferred mode of payment. If it's PayPal in the US, then it's very important. In India, cash on delivery is very important. So having those right payment instruments is important. I think in a nutshell, what's very important is if a brand can measure these different, I would say, stages, that what percentage of people are clicking and landing, are adding products to cart, are adding checkout after cart, and are completing purchase after checkout. And if you can benchmark this across the industry, it will be relatively easy to figure out where are people dropping off. And then the relevant, I would say, interventions can be made to increase conversion rate. There are tools which can help. There are A/B testing which can be done for any brand to solve the conversion rate problem. Over to you, Shruti.
Anshuk, could I just be slightly contentious and push back a little bit? I think conversion rate is a fabulous measure, and it allows us all to benchmark ourselves and get comfortable or uncomfortable with relative performance. I think it can often be misleading. And I think that as businesses mature, they'll become less dependent upon conversion rate, because we all know it's very easy to improve conversion rate. Just start chopping off poor traffic and your conversion rate will go up. But it doesn't mean you're any more profitable. In fact, it means you've lost revenue. So I think for me, I would urge people to start thinking about customer value. Customer value, in whichever way you want to define it, is a much more accurate measure of business value. So whether it's you have a database of customers and you segment them and you look at the actual performance of those customers, whether you look at the cost to acquire new customers, some of those metrics, I think, increasingly as you progress in your digital journey, will become much more important. CLV, someone's just typed on the questions. Absolutely. Those are much more, I think, progressive calculations of performance than some of the more, conversion rate kind of things. But look, I accept if you're starting off, conversion rate is not a bad place to start. I would urge you quickly to move on.
Absolutely, David. For those, like mentioned, for those who are still starting off, we have a free website audit available on Adiyogi platform. You can access that for free, and it'll let you know where exactly your customers are dropping off and help you improve your conversion rates on the website right away. Moving on to the next question, David, there's one question for you in the chat box. What is the best way to track website speed? A lot of e-commerce websites tend to have a lot of third-party plugins and which tend to slow the website down. What is the sweet spot?
Fabulous question. Thank you for whoever posted that. Let me tell you a story about a consulting gig I did about 5 years ago with a global retailer who had so much code on his front end that his performance of his pages was terrible. And the performance of some of his key pages was worse than terrible. When we unpicked it, we found that he had over 2,000 pieces of code that were largely redundant sitting on his pages. And would you believe the vast majority of that code was trying to measure page speed? So I'd urge you all to look at how you're measuring page speed. And if you're starting out, I'd suggest two simple things because they're both free. One is Lighthouse, Chrome Lighthouse. Two is Google Page, Google Speeds. They are not 100% accurate, but they'll tell you whether you've got a major problem or whether you're okay. As you start to develop, you will want to add code from proprietary speed performance technology, and there are lots in the marketplace. But please don't start adding code to your page to understand page speed without understanding the fact that more code on more pages reduces your site speed. Hope that makes sense.
I'd just like to add one more thing to be cognizant about tracking website speed. So most of the tools that are out there, two of them David pointed out, Lighthouse and Google Web Dev Page Speed Insights or something like that. Then there is GT Metric. There are all sorts of tools. Most of these tools would measure your page speed on a typical browser like Chrome, which most of the users would use. But when you're spending online, you need to be aware that a lot of your paid traffic is going to come on web views and not on Chrome. Web views inside Instagram, web views inside Facebook, which may not be very optimized and may not use a lot of RAM to cache things and load pages super fast as Chrome. Because Chrome being a browser, it is in the interest of Chrome to load things fast, which is why it uses a lot of our system's RAM. But for the web views inside Facebook and Instagram, they may not be super optimized. So you should also keep a check on how actually your pages are performing inside these web views.
One thing just to finalize, you can be certain of is if you choose a headless composable route, the connectivity between your front end and your back end service provision to provide that microservice will be much, much faster than a traditional monolith. So if you've got Salesforce Commerce Cloud monolith operating your website, you're going to have some intense pages that are slow. If you move that and use APIs to connect those two microservices together, by default, even if you don't remove page code, you're going to get a better speed result.
Right. Thank you so much, Neeraj and David. Sarath is asking what should be an average budget to allocate for a small D2C business. Sarath, with Adiyogi, you can start with as small as $300 for that matter. And you can access features like monitoring your campaigns across channels, your predefined category smart ads, ROAS analyzer, and much more. You can reach out to Guna in our chat box and he should help you out. Next question I would like to direct towards Anshuk. Kashyap is asking that RTO has been increasing day by day for their business. They started from 10% on their website and now it has reached 20%. He wants to know if this is a normal situation or what exactly can he do to reduce the RTOs.
RTO is definitely a big problem, which we have come across. Almost all brands I talk to face this problem, especially if you're selling in India. RTO percentage varies from brand to brand. A few matrices I have seen. Generally, men fashion we have seen has slightly higher RTO percentages than women fashion. And what we've also seen is RTO percentage also varies with average order value. So if you are, let's say, $50, $100, which is around 3,000, 4,000 INR in India, RTO percentages are slightly lower. But if you are in the mass market segment, maybe $10 or 500 INR, RTO percentages are slightly on the higher side. The least we have seen is, again, women fashion, higher ASP, around 5 to 7%, which is a very good RTO percentage. Men fashion, lower ASP categories, RTO percentages can go as high as 20 to 30%. So first thing for you is, depending on the category where you lie in, you can see what's the benchmark for RTO percentage. And if it's in the benchmark, of course, there could be little room of improvement there also. But if you feel you are already higher than the RTO benchmark, then there is a lot which can be done to reduce RTO. Broadly, I would say 2-3 levers which I've seen work quite well. Number one, see where are you getting the traffic from. That also actually impacts the RTO. We have seen tier 1 cities sometimes have much lower RTO percentages than tier 2, tier 3 cities. So you can also sort of control your marketing campaigns. If you're just starting up, you may not want to run entire country. You may want to pick and choose your top 5, 10, 15 cities. So there is something which can be done on the marketing side to reduce RTO. Second, I would say post-purchase behavior also plays an important role in reducing RTO. So how quickly are you able to deliver? How regularly are you able to update your customer that the product has been dispatched, the shipping has happened, they can expect their order in a day, in a 2 day. So the more you keep the customer updated after the conversion, you will be able to reduce RTO. One metric which we came across some time back is every additional day of delivery can increase your RTO percentage by around 5 to 7%. So if you are, let's say, delivering in 4 days versus 3 days, you'll be able to bring down your RTO just by a faster delivery time. So maybe you can relook at your delivery or the shipping provider and see if something more can be done to make it even faster. So these are some of the pointers we have come across. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you so much, Anshuk. I hope that answers your question, Kashyap. We're running short on time here. We have only 10 minutes left for this session. So I'd like to move on to the last question of this session today, which is where do we see the e-commerce industry going in 2023 in terms of the technology that we have seen so far? I would like all of our speakers to have to at least address with 2 or 3 lines for this question, and let's conclude the discussion at the same minute.
Shall I go first? Shall I start?
Sure.
So I think my view on this is really about where various parts of the digital world are in their journey. If I take where I am, based in Europe, progressive e-commerce businesses are moving away from being product-led. They're moving away from being brand-led, and they're becoming more customer-led. Customer-led businesses, businesses who put customers at the heart of what they do and see all of their performance metrics through the eyes of customers are the winners of the future. And I think it'll be true that in the next 5 to 10 years, the technology that allows you to put customers at the heart of what you do will be the winners in the race to succeed. And I mean that through the lens of how traditional businesses have operated. You know, we used to come in on a Monday morning and look at the sales. And sales are just an output of inputs. if we now look at that through the lens of a customer, we'd look at how many customers did we recruit last week? And how did those customers perform? And how many of our existing customers did we retain last week? And how many did we lose? And what do we need to do to lose less and retain more? And what do we need to do to lower the cost of recruiting the new ones? Now, the old adage about the best customers you have, the best customer you'll ever have are the ones you've already got, is kind of true. So technology, I think, is morphing towards microservices that deliver better customer outcomes rather than great monolithic stacks, which, rather like the proverbial iceberg, you only really see the top 5%. The other 95% is what you're paying the bill for. So lighter, more agile, customer-inspired technology that can be incorporated at speed and failing fast. So we'll try 5 things this week. We'll know 4 of them will fail. We don't know which 4 they are. By the end of the week, we'll know, and we'll develop the one that was successful. That kind of progressive movement forward through the eyes of customers rather than the internal language of sales and profits, which, you know, we have to consider, but shouldn't really be the driving force, in my view, behind the strategy for a business.
Absolutely. Maybe I can go second. So David, totally 100% aligned on what you mentioned. I also strongly believe that customer centricity is going to be super critical for an e-com brand today. It will also make sure that you are able to get more and more repeat customer rate, which is also one of the key drivers of profitability for any brand today. The second trend, which I thought I'll also bring it up today, we see a lot of brands going omni-channel, and that's a trend we have seen very aggressively over the last 12 to 18 months. Not only are brands choosing to go omni-channel, we are also seeing that overall omni-channel does have a positive impact on the growth and profitability of a brand. We have seen so many cases where if a brand is, let's say, doing online marketing and has a physical store, there are a lot of people walking into the store with images of product which they have seen online, which is basically saying your online marketing for your D2C website helping your offline sales go up. We have seen the reverse also, that the moment you open a store in a particular city, your share of online contribution of that particular city actually goes up, which essentially shows that having an offline presence is able to get you more online customers. And the same trends are also seen across your D2C website and marketplaces. So when you do your Facebook advertising for your D2C website, you see your marketplace sales go up. These could be people who go to the Amazon and try to filter your brand and buy from your brand. And we also see the reverse trend that if you are listed on multiple marketplaces, your brand searches on Google go up. Again, these are people who probably got introduced to your brand on a marketplace and then thought that I'll buy from the brand website, maybe because of a more later collection, maybe because of better discounting or better pricing. So a lot of cross synergies we are seeing in the omni-channel space. So for me, I think a key trend to watch out for in e-commerce is how does this whole omni-channel play out in the coming years. What do you need? Yeah.
We are one of those brands which have recently got into offline. So yeah, this trend is definitely catching up. And in 2023, I'm sure more brands are going to follow that. In addition to that, I think in 23, one of the major thing on the minds of entrepreneurs or generally on e-commerce brands is going to be costs, because we are in the middle of a downturn and funding has been drying up. So people are going to start looking to have more with less spend broadly, right? And I am a firm believer of SaaS revolution in general, specifically in India. So I think more and more brands are going to go towards reducing their tech spends and still trying to have faster growth, for which they need more capabilities, more flexibility, which systems like Headless commerce suites provide. They are basically made for that, right? So I see this trend going to catch up this year, specifically because of the downturn as well that we are in the middle right now.
Thank you so much, Neeraj, Anshuk, and David. With that, on that note, I would like to end this discussion for today. Indeed, a very insightful discussion. We covered headless e-commerce, we covered growth marketing, how can you improve your conversions, etc. I hope we answered most of your questions. Even though if anything's left, you can always reach out to us. You can find our meeting links in the chat box below. With that, the perks of the session are not ending yet. We are offering our freemium tool for free. With this, you can access trends across your cross-channel on social platforms as well as Google, video platforms, marketplaces, etc. You can access predefined categories, smart ads, and much more. Do drop on your text. Do click on the link in the chat box below and access the freemium sign-up link for free. Thank you so much. With that, we are concluding the session for today. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.